Squid Game Season 2 was released on December 26, 2024, which was Boxing Day. This was one of the most popular Netflix releases in a while, and I think actually could have been the most popular. But with the success of Season 1, a lot of people wanted to see how the story continues and what would happen in Season 2. Today I'm going to be reviewing Season 2 of Squid Games and my thoughts on the season overall. So be aware there is spoilers ahead in the video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel as well, as I'm going to be posting a lot more reviews within 2025. So to give my overall thoughts on Season 2, I thought it was a decent series. I think they did a lot of things right, but I also thought that there was a few things I didn't like about the series as a whole. So the first point that I think is, it wasn't as good as Season 1, but I think because of the way Season 1 was filmed, it was always going to be difficult to film a Season 2. Season 1, although it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, it would have been very difficult to create a Season 2 without just replicating Season 1. So I think they did a good job overall. I just think because of the nature of the programme, it was difficult to create a Season 2 of it. I do see a lot of mixed reviews online about this, and I do see why. I feel like because it wasn't as good as Season 1, people were saying it was bad, or some people don't like it, and I completely understand that because it wasn't as good as Season 1, but it definitely wasn't awful. The number one thing for me that I feel like let it down was it felt a lot like it was half a season. Because it was just 7 episodes and it ended on a big cliffhanger, it felt like instead of it being a complete season, it was more like Season 2 Part 1, and that Season 3 that's coming out soon is going to be Season 2 Part 2. And because of this, it is quite hard just to rate it as an overall series, because it just felt so incomplete to me. Personally, I don't like it when any series does this. I feel like if you're filming a series, yes, it can have a cliffhanger and lead on to another series. Overall, I would like that series to be its own kind of piece of media. And this is what lets it down, because not only did the main plot feel incomplete, but all the subplots around it and all the character arcs felt incomplete as well. There wasn't anything that actually got concluded in the end of Season 2. It just led on to and built up essentially Season 3. So they did a very good job of setting up Season 3, but just rating Season 2 on its own, that's what lets it down a lot. I do like the overall storyline and the overall direction they went in Season 2, and I felt like it was good because it was different from Season 1, but not too different. Like, they still had a lot of similar things in Season 1, but they just changed a lot of it as well. I don't know a lot of the names of the characters in Squid Games, so I'm just going to refer to people like the main character or the detective. But essentially the main plot was, 3 years after Season 1, the main character is now wealthy, and his main mission is to basically find out where the games are, who run the games, and bring them down. And because he's got a lot of money now, he actually has a lot of people working for him, and he's got the resources to actually do this. But while he's trying to do this, he actually ends up being back into the games. And I thought this was a very good storyline to go with. I also thought it was good that he met the detective, and they kind of both worked together. Because in Season 1 it felt like the detective was working alone to try and find the games and bring the games down. But now it feels like with the main character and his resources, they can actually achieve this. It essentially turned out that the main character got kidnapped and he got put back into the game. Now he's doing what he had to do in Season 1 and essentially survived the games. And this was a big curveball because we know in Season 1 he survived all the games, but a lot of times he did get lucky, and out of 400 and something players, it's really difficult to be the one that survives the games. And because he's done this once, the likelihood he's going to do it again is even slimmer. But I thought as a main storyline, this was a good storyline. As in Season 1, I felt like the main storyline was to survive the games, but in Season 2, and leading them to Season 3, I feel like the main arc of it is to take down the games. So that's the main plot, but I felt like all the other sub-storylines and subplots just fell very flat in my opinion. So the main 2 subplots were the detective, who's still on the mission to kind of seek the island, and he has a team with him now, and he's on a boat going around trying to find the island to rescue the main character but also bring down the games. And another subplot that we followed was one of the guards in the games itself, and the kind of behind the scenes of what she's doing day to day, and a bit about her storyline. Even though the guard one was quite cool just to see the behind the scenes of the guards and what they're doing and what their day consists of, because it's half a season, it doesn't really go anywhere, and we don't see a conclusion to this. And then the subplot with the detective I thought was really flat. It doesn't actually do anything, go anywhere, or prove anything in the season. If you compare this to his subplot in Season 1, it was much better planned out, as you see him making progress each episode to get closer to his goal, and then at the end there was obviously the big twist where his brother was actually the front man. In Season 2 none of this happens, and again it just doesn't go anywhere. One thing I did like about the season though was the start of the season, the first 2 episodes, where we see the main character try and hunt down the suitcase guy. And I thought this was really interesting to watch, and you get a bit of insight on who the suitcase guy is and a bit about how he operates. And I thought this was a good idea to put in the season. The only thing is though, we didn't really get much explanation to him. In terms of, in one of the scenes, he was going to a park to play kind of small games with homeless people. I don't really feel like there's a much deeper meaning to this, and we didn't really get an explanation of why he's actually doing this, because he's not actually recruiting people for the game here, which is his main job. But either way, I felt like it was a good first 2 episodes. Now the games itself, I wasn't a massive fan of. They brought back the red light game, which I feel like was just a way of introducing the games to the contestants, which was okay. Again, it wasn't anything new to season 1, but then the other 2 games, again, I just wasn't a huge fan of them. I feel like the second game, I don't know what it's called, when they were going around the racetrack, playing the smaller games, it just lacked that kind of intensity in my opinion. But I'm guessing we'll see a lot of other games in season 3. I do feel like the games get better as they go on and there's less people competing in them. I do think it was a good idea to bring the games back though and have different games. I just wasn't the biggest fan of these games. A big difference in the show this time round and in season 1 was that after each game they have a kind of unanimous vote where they decide whether they want to stay in the games or leave. And I thought this was good because it kind of created a very split dynamic between the contestants. But at the same time I can't help but feel like this was unrealistic, as soon as a lot of people realised they were going to die in the games, I feel like at least 80-90% of people would vote to leave. I also felt like this kind of slowed the pacing down of the season a bit, as instead of jumping from game to game, it was very much like game, vote and then game, vote, which was okay, but in a shorter season I would have probably liked to see a few more games realistically. Characters itself thought were okay. Obviously the main character stayed the same, the detective stayed the same. The only thing that really changed were a lot of the contestants. To me, I don't think they was as good as season 1. That's because we didn't really see them across as many episodes maybe, but I felt like the characters did fall a bit flat. The only one I really remember and really sticks out was Thanos. He was a good character. I mean, the only one that really seemed to enjoy the games, which is understandable because he's high most of the time. And I do remember the mom and son in there as well, which was an interesting dynamic which we didn't see in season 1. So I am interested to see how this plays out in season 3. But at the same time, I feel like season 2 and 3 are more so developing the characters of the main character, the detective and the frontman, instead of introducing lots of other main characters. I was a little disappointed we didn't get to see the elites in season 2 at all, as I feel like they are one of the main reasons why the game exists in their first place, because they fund the games and also they're a part of why the games exist. One of the biggest things I did like about the season was the fact that we got to see the frontman play number 1 in the games, just like they did in season 1, but this time obviously we know that that's the frontman, and I think that creates a really interesting dynamic when we're watching the games and we're watching the contestants communicate, because we know in our head that's the frontman. So we're kind of already looking for clues where he might sabotage other people or cheat through the games. I think this is a really interesting thing to watch and probably what I liked about the season as a whole. In terms of the ending itself, I feel like it was a good idea in terms of having them kind of break out the games and try and basically escape the island. The only problem with this is once they actually start to escape the island, I felt like a lot of the action scenes got a bit repetitive and nothing really happens. I mean, they start escaping, they take all the guards' guns, but for me it felt like there was just like an infinite amount of guards that kept on coming and coming, so it already felt like an unfair fight from the contestants' perspective, and it was like they were fighting a never-ending battle. And a lot of the action scenes were literally just the contestants hiding behind cover and pulling out and shooting. But again, because this was the last 20 minutes, half an hour of the final episode, nothing really happens, because you obviously see the front man kill 2 contestants and then put his mask back on. But it wasn't any like big twist or anything, it's just half of them got killed, the main character got kidnapped again, and I'm assuming he's going to get thrown back into the games. But it wasn't like some big twist, and that's why I felt like the ending was a bit flat, and realistically I don't think this was the best place to end. I feel like maybe even having one more episode or something would have been good. I felt like it would have been good in this episode if maybe they found something out at the end of the episode, instead of just literally all of them being shot to death. In conclusion, my thoughts on season 2 was, it was a good season. To me, how I judge seasons is, do they have a lot of rewatch value? And in this instance, I don't think it actually does. I think it makes a good first part to another season, but as just a season standalone, I don't think it was that good. I also don't think it was that bad either. I think if season 3 comes out, and season 3 is a really good season, it will definitely complement season 2 as well, because season 1 I thought was better. The good thing about the fact that it does lead on to season 3 is that season 3 is expected to come out, I think in June 2025, so literally only 4 months away or 5 months away. So it's not going to be one of those ones where it's a big wait, but there are a few good things I liked about the season, and I am looking forward to watching season 3. But let me know what you thought about Squid Game Season 2 in the comments. Thank you for watching the video and please make sure to subscribe.